Okay, perfect. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. We're really glad that you could join us for this timely conversation exploring the Czech and Slovak experience, but specifically we're going to be exploring the upcoming Czech parliamentary elections in October and the historic opportunity for citizens abroad to vote by mail. Today's discussion will hopefully offer some insight into key developments, connections, and the evolving role of the Czech government on a global scale. My name is Madison. I'm the education specialist here at the museum in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I'm happy to have you here again. I do want to give you guys a little bit of a heads up. Here in the Midwest, we had some really gross weather last night. So if we have any connectivity or internet issues, please be patient. I will get it resolved as fast as possible. So please stay on. I will get that fixed as quickly as possible. I guess without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Dr. Cecilia Rokusek, the President and the CEO of the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library.
Thank you so much, Madison, and I'll be brief because we have so much to discuss. But let me just tell you a little bit about how strongly I feel that these webinars and future podcasts are so important. You know, we, as the only National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library in the United States, have a real responsibility to connect to our homelands. We are all, third, fourth, fifth, sixth generation Czechs and or Slovaks, and the importance of us connecting really highlights the importance of our generation and our cultural, maintenance and cultural preservation. So that is so important. This topic is particularly important for those of you who are Czech citizens or those of you who are new Czech citizens. And we are just grateful that we're doing this. And thanks to Miroslav and Pavel Demish for organizing this. And again, I believe that our responsibility as the only National Czech and Slovak Museum is to keep our citizens that are living here in the United States connected to their homelands. And this is one important way through the election process as a democracy. And I'm always talking when I'm giving lectures that the Czechs and the Slovaks really were the forefronters of democracy in our world today. And we look at Central Europe, they continue to be the flag bearers. And we look at people like, of course, Václav Havel. And the democracy that was so precious to them is something that is so precious to us today in the 21st century. And voting is the one privilege that we have as citizens of our countries. So this is especially important to disseminate that information and to make sure that people are proud of their connection and most of all proud of their heritage that goes back to our homeland. So that's why we're doing it. And I'm so pleased that all of you could join, and I'll turn it back now to our hosts.
Awesome. Thank you. Before we begin, parliamentary elections are scheduled to be held in the Czech Republic October 3rd and 4th of this year. For the first time, like I mentioned, Czech citizens living abroad will be able to vote. In August of 2024, the President of the Czech Republic signed a bill that allows Czech citizens to vote by mail in parliamentary, presidential, and European parliamentary elections. This amendment to the Election Administration Act and the Act on Elections to the Parliament of the Czech Republic means that Czechs will be able to vote by mail for the first time in parliamentary elections in the autumn of 2025. I would like to introduce today's hosts, Miroslav Konvalina and Pavel Demish. Take it away, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. We are glad to be here.
Thank you very much. It's my great pleasure that together with Mira Konvalina, we can host this webinar, which is very timely, and we are quite excited that it will be not only pleasant and full of information, but also very useful, because there are still until October a couple weeks within which Czech citizens will cast their votes. And we divided the roles with Mirek, that I will introduce our first speaker, Jiri Pehe, and then Mirek will introduce his two speakers, and then we will be starting our program. So Jiri Pehe is a very well-known political scientist, educator in Czech Republic. Jiri Pehe and myself know each other for decades because at some point Jiri Pehe in 90s, actually from 1997 to 99, was advisor to Václav Havel. Those days I was advisor to first Slovak president Michal Kovács, so we met during those times. But quality of Jirka Pehe is proven also that today's president Petr Pavel asked him to be his external advisor, which he is doing parallel to be director of NYU Prague and an affiliate faculty member of the Center for European and Mediterranean Studies at New York University in New York. Before that, Mirek served for Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty as a researcher in Munich. But most important thing is that Jiri is author of multiple books, articles, which were published in the United States, Germany, besides Czech Republic. So we are extremely pleased that Jiri Pehe accepted role to kick off this debate and help us to understand what's going on in Czech political landscape, but also show importance of this new legislation which was adopted recently. Being a Slovak, I must say that I am rather envious because Czechs, after Petr Pavel adopted or approved this new law, will have opportunity to vote in all three elections, parliamentary, presidential, and Euro elections, or to European Parliament. We in Slovakia have opportunity only to vote in parliamentary elections. If you want to vote for president or members of European Parliament, you have to come back. So with this, I would like to ask Jiri Pehe, or Jirka as I call him, to first give us a little bit in about 15 minutes his assessment road to this new legislation and how it strengthens Czech democracy. Second, brief description of political landscape, who is who in today's politics and what is at stake. And last but not least, what are his personal expectations from Czech citizens living abroad and their participation in these, from this point of view, historical elections. Jirka, please unmute yourself, and we are eager to hear your assessment.
Okay, thank you, Pavel. I'm of course honored to be invited to this panel especially on this topic, which I find to be very important. Maybe I should start with the history of this law, because although the law was adopted just recently, there were attempts even 10 years ago to or suggestions that such a law should be adopted, simply because a lot of votes of Czechs living abroad were lost. People could vote, but they would have to go to a consulate or embassy, which was not very practical, especially in big countries such as the United States or Australia and so on. So in the end, it was usually between 13,000 and 15,000 people living abroad who voted, and we know that about 500,000, maybe more, Czechs in fact live abroad. So those votes were lost. The first attempt was, or serious attempt was made during the government led by the Social Democrats 10 years ago, but in the end it didn't go through. So the debate was renewed when the current government took over, partly because it was part of their coalition agreement. They promised in their coalition agreement that they would approve a law making possible this mail-in vote. So it took almost 3 years get it done. And the reasons why it was so difficult are those that we heard officially from various political parties who opposed it, and those that are actually the real reasons, because as it always happens in cases like that, there's a lot of political attempts to obscure what this whole thing was about. Maybe before I start about the arguments, I should describe what the current political landscape looks like. We have a government consisting of 5 parties. The 2 coalitions, which were formed before the elections in 2021, created a government that consists of now only 4 parties, but initially 5 parties. Those parties are 3 parties that form a coalition called Spolu, which means together. And those are the Civic Democratic Party, which is a conservative party, the People's Party or the Christian Democrats, which is sort of a centrist conservative party, and then Top 09, which is a liberal/conservative party. And then the other coalition was formed by the movement of mayors and independents and the pirates. The mayors and independents are sort of a centrist liberal party. The pirates are, if I can describe them in any way, sort of a left of center liberal party. The pirates eventually left the government, so now it's only 4 parties, and I will not go into details why the pirates left, but all of these parties were in favor of adopting this new law, making it possible for Czech citizens to vote by mail, Czech citizens living abroad. Then we have 2 parties which form the current opposition, and after the departure of the pirates, actually from the government, 3 parties that form the current opposition, but the 2 parties that have been in the opposition for the duration of this whole term are the movement ANO of Andrej Babiš and the Freedom and Direct Democracy Party of Tomio Okamura. Both of these parties were very staunchly opposed to this law, and they were giving all kinds of reasons why it should not be adopted. That one of the most important arguments they were making was that it would not be, it would lead to cheating, or that it would not protect the privacy of those who vote. That they were giving as an example, for example, the Austrian elections, presidential elections, when the vote had to be recounted about 5 years, 6 years ago because of the correspondence of the mail-in vote, some problems there, and they said this could happen in the Czech Republic as well. They also referred to the constitution, saying that this could be unconstitutional simply because it doesn't protect the secrecy of the vote, which under the Czech constitution should be guaranteed, and so on. So it was a very heated discussion. The opposition actually managed to obstruct the adoption of the law or stop it with the help of obstructions for quite a long time. The first debate, the first session of the parliament, which took up this law, was lasted for 64 hours, and people from the opposition, politicians from the opposition, spoke for hours, and it continued in similar fashion during the second session, and then it was finally approved. Surprisingly enough, the opposition didn't challenge this at the Constitutional Court, although they had threatened they would do so, and so the law was signed by the president. The real reasons why the opposition was opposed to this law were, of course, different from those that they mentioned. One of them is that opinion polls showed that surveys showed that the opposition would that the Czechs living abroad would overwhelmingly vote for the current government parties. So the movement ANO and Okamura's party would gain maybe only about 20% from the vote abroad. And that was, of course, one of the main reasons, which was never mentioned, but obviously it was always in the background. And so there was part of these parties. There was, of course, some concern that if a lot of Czechs actually decide to vote, to use this possibility, that they would lose quite a lot of votes. Since there are, as I said, there are about 600,000 Czechs living abroad who could, in theory, vote. In reality, it will be less, of course, much less. That could have a significant impact, especially in those regions where those votes will be counted as part of the count in that particular region. And my colleagues from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will talk about it. These are sort of technical details. But the fact is that it could have a real impact, because we know we have an example in 2018 when President Zeman was re-elected. He won by a very small margin of roughly 130,000 votes. And then the surveys showed later that if he had the mail-in vote at that time, about 90% of all people who were surveyed, Czech citizens living abroad, said they would vote not for Zeman but for his opponent. So if we had this kind of law already then, and only half of the people who live abroad would vote, that is about 300,000, Zeman would not be the president. And this was quite often quoted as an example of how it can change the political landscape in the Czech Republic, because if you have this large number of people living abroad, of course, that can do a lot of that can have a big impact on the political system. So we are approaching the elections right now. Just for those of you who do not follow Czech politics closely, opinion polls show that the movement of Andrej Babiš, ANO, would win with about 30%. The coalition Spolu of the Civic Democrats, Christian Democrats, and Top 09 would get about 20%. The mayors about 12, 13%. Okamura about the same, and the Pirates are trailing with about 8%. What will be very important, of course, is whether some small political parties, which are currently around 5%, which is a threshold for gaining parliamentary seats, whether they will get into the lower chamber, and that is the movement called coalition called Stačilo, which means enough, which is basically a post-communist coalition, and then a party called the Motorists for themselves, which is a very strange political subject. Nevertheless, they have about 5% in opinion polls as well. So this is what will probably decide Czech elections. That is whether these small subjects which are closer to Babiš than to the current ruling coalition will make it into the parliament. And then, of course, also, and that's why we have this seminar, how many Czechs abroad will vote? Because if a lot of people register and vote, it can change the outcome significantly. Because if only half of the Czechs voted, it would be basically equal to one of the 14 regions to which the Czech Republic is divided now, and that is sort of a significant change that could happen. This could mean. So this is roughly the current situation, and of course I will be happy to talk about it in more detail when we have the Q&A.
Thank you very much, Jirka, for this outline of the road to legislation and description of political landscape and possible outcome where foreigners, I mean Czechs living abroad, can play important role. Now, Mirek Konvalina will introduce following two speakers, and as was indicated, everybody can have then chance to ask questions after three speakers will deliver their remarks. Thank you, Mirek. Take it over.
Thank you. So, as the Czech Republic enters this stage and phase of its election campaign, it looks that voters are sticking with familiar political brands with several months to go. Before the Czech parliamentary elections, the political landscape appears surprisingly stable. So it's important that for the first time, Czech citizens living abroad can vote by mail in parliamentary elections. The foreign minister expects thousands of voters abroad to participate in the autumn elections to the Chamber of Deputies. As was said, more than 600,000 Czechs are long-term residents abroad. I found some data which says that in the last general elections, about 18,800 Czechs abroad were eligible to vote, and around 3,200 casting their vote. In last year's presidential elections, 28,700 Czechs could vote abroad, and 23,000 of them took advantage of the opportunity. So now we will turn to the representative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We have two guests today. One is Jiri Kratky. He is a special envoy for Czechs living abroad. He's kind of the bridge between Czech expatriates abroad and the Czech government. Welcome, Jiri.
Good evening, everybody.
And second, not far from Cedar Rapids, just a couple hours drive from Chicago, is our Consul General of the Czech Republic in Chicago for the Middle West, and it's Jakub Uteseny. Welcome, Jakub.
Hello, thank you for having me.
And I see in the audience that we have expatriates, we have diplomats from all around the country, from Washington and others. But first, I would like to ask Jiri Kratky to describe a little bit the challenge we are facing with the voting by mail.
Thank you, Mirek. It's a pleasure to participate in this session because from our part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, maybe I would say at the very beginning that a very difficult task for all of us is to spread out the information among the Czech citizens living abroad, that for the first time in the history, Czechs can vote or participate in elections through the distance voting. For us, it's a new thing that actually we have in Czech Republic. For our colleagues from Slovakia, it's already something that, if I remember, 2004, when actually the mail voting was approved, and for the first time, 2006, I think that the Slovaks could enjoy this opportunity. And exactly on the example of Slovakia, we could see how difficult and that actually it takes some time to introduce the new instrument to voters abroad. And this is the first question that actually, and the first task that we have all the same. The second that actually I would like to highlight, it's that very often in the Czech press is postal voting or the mail-in voting introduced as a quite a bureaucratic, quite a difficult discipline. But I have to say that it's not difficult at all. Even you have to recognize that there are two steps. There are two important steps. And first step is the registration, and the second step is the casting the vote or casting the ballot. Concerning the questions, and this is very often question of people, can we vote only by mail, by paper form, or can we vote online? So I have to explain again that this is the vote by paper form. So you have to send really the envelope with your ballot to your closest embassy or general consulate. The second question is how to make registration easy. We worked very hard way to prepare many options as possible to give the alternatives to younger people or to let's say, like a classical generation that doesn't like online applications as much. So you have like 6 possibilities how to register yourself for the elections. And first, there are 2 steps how to register. Actually, 2 steps. Firstly, you have to register to be registered in a special list of voters from abroad. This list. It's a list that it's under the control of your closest embassy or the Consul General. And the second step is to ask to apply for the mailing voting. So actually, it's a distance voting. So the first step, it's one forever, unless you cancel your registration. So you're registered. If you already voted at least once in your life, and you were voting personally from the embassies or from the general consulate, what was possible since 2002 already. So you don't have to register again at this to this register. But what you have to do if you don't live in the vicinity of the Czech embassy or the general consulate and you want to vote by casting your vote by post, by mail, so you have to apply for this possibility by the extra application sent to the Czech embassy or the general consulate again. So this is, like very briefly, 2 maybe or 3 explications about something that to someone could represent a difficult administrative process. It's only about the registration. It's not necessary to really to fear about this. Once you will, I'm sure that you will pass through this process. You will find out that this is very easy step. If I can say, thank you, Mirek, you are sending us a very important reminder. Even if this reminder is in Czech language, it shows the different stages, what you can do to be able to vote by mail. Very important was actually and is still to respect the deadlines that you have to fulfill certain steps. The most important deadline is the deadline of 40 days before the elections. So it means concerning this October elections, you have to register yourself at the Czech embassy or general consulate till August 24th. This is the latest day when you have to be registered. Who doesn't, who missed this and who is not registered in special register at the Czech embassy won't have the chance to participate in the Czech elections in October, unless he is coming personally to the embassy with the Czech volební průkaz, what is actually something like a Czech elector's ID, but only the ID that has to be issued in the Czech Republic. So this is like two different stages. But this is what I would like to say. We still have almost 25 days till the deadline of the registering. Please do it in time, because this is the key issue for the participation in the elections. Czechs were waiting for the possibility to vote from abroad on a distance for more than 30 years. For many of them, it's a practical, but for many of them, it's a very emotional issue. It's because the participation in the elections is not only the question of demonstrating your strong relationship to your country of origin, but it's a very important part of your feeling that you are participating in decision-making process of the public affairs. And I think that for many of us, it's very important to hear this voice from abroad, because you are having completely different kind of experience that you gained in your foreign life from your working or the social or the culture experience abroad. And we really want to know, I want to have the part of your experience cast through your vote in the elections. I don't know if I would actually, I would prefer not to go into the details, technical details, how to apply, because everything that actually what is needed for the elections participation, you will find at the website of the Czech Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the Czech Ministry of Interior. And on the web page, on the website, you will find the complete information, including the formula that is actually important to fill in 5 foreign languages. It's not only in Czech language, but it's in 5 languages. So please, if you would be more interested to know about this process, go to see the details on the website of the Czech Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Is it for this moment
Yes, Jiri.
explained?
Yeah, Jiri, I think it's great for your opening remarks. Let me quote the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jan Lipavsky, who stressed the role of expatriates. Voting by mail was the most frequent request from Czech compatriots abroad. This is why we decided to reach out to well-known figures in the expatriates communities to help inform them about the necessary steps. So it's not only diplomats, it's also compatriots all around the world who played important role, reaching, to others and providing them the information about the chance to vote by mail for the first time. We are in the broadcasting from Middle West, from Cedar Rapids, and this is the territory of the Consul General of the Czech Republic in Chicago, Jakub Uteseny. So what's your take? Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mirek. Thank you for giving me the floor. First of all, I want to thank to the museum, to the National Czech and Slovak Museum and Library in Cedar Rapids for organizing this seminar and for organizing it in English. because I think it's also an important feature. Not many people know it back at home, but for us, it's everyday bread that we have to deal also with the citizens of the Czech Republic that not necessarily speak fluently Czech. And there's actually a quite notable number of those that we have here in the US and across the Midwest with whom we have to communicate in English. So basically, you help us to reach to those people with the message that Jiri Kratky alluded to about our elections. Second thing, well, I'm really happy that I'm speaking after Jiri Kratky, because even though he did not want to go into details, he covered the main and the most important features of the whole electoral process and everything related to mail-in vote. Even though we've not coordinated before our interventions, I was actually about to speak about the very similar thing. And what I would do right now is just to put his presentation into a nutshell, because I think I'd like to stress something what he already said, that it's for the first time. We all have been studying it. I'm also trying to learn it myself, the whole procedures. And as it's for the first time, it's a new thing. It might feel for somebody, not only us, but also for the citizens living abroad, a little bit overwhelming. And I think it's pretty natural. So I think our goal and the goal of the seminar is actually to make it easier for people to understand by simplifying something what otherwise might feel like a very complex picture. And Jiri, he mentioned two questions, and I would basically repeat the things that he said. I don't want to, but first, what is important? Registration. We need the people. If there is anybody who wants to vote, and doesn't matter whether he wants to or she wants to vote by mail or in person, that person needs to be registered by the 29th August. That's one thing. The second thing, mail-in vote. In case you want to vote by mail, you also have to apply for it. So it's not automatic. You have to send us a request by various means. And there is also a deadline for that. Actually, there are two. None of them is more important, but if you want to do it by mail or by electronic means, you need to do it, if I'm not mistaken, by the end of August. And then if you don't have these tools or you don't want to use mail, you can request a mail-in vote at our office in Chicago, or if we speak more broadly about the US, at the embassy in Washington or at our consulates in LA or New York until the 1st October. And the third thing, and I think that's the most important thing, what Jiri already mentioned, that's don't feel overwhelmed. In case you need more information about the deadlines, about the procedure, just try to follow the instructions. There are many information on the website of the ministry, on the website of the consulates. And for those who want to vote by mail, once you apply for mail-in vote, at certain point of time, and I can tell you on our behalf of the Consul General in Chicago, we will be sending all the voting materials probably in the course of September, so that they reach the people by the mid of in the course of August, so that they reach the people by the mid of September. And there in the envelopes, you will have quite extensive information about how to actually vote. So just follow the instructions. So that's for the introduction. And Mirek, you asked me about the Midwest. I can speak in length about Midwest. I think there are some, even though the election as such by default should be basically same and similar all across the globe, I think there are some unique features when it comes to the Midwest or the US. Speaking about Midwest, you know it yourself. It's very vast territory. It's actually 26 times bigger than the Czech Republic. We from the consulate, we cover 11 states of the American Midwest, except of Ohio. And given the geographical scope of this territory, I think it's very important that we introduced the mail-in vote. It's very important milestone for especially those people that live in the remote areas and that would, without having the possibility of vote by mail, be sort of left out of the process. So I think politically it's very important that we have it. Second thing, related to Midwest, I think we have very special nature of our diaspora here. You and also Jiri spoke about that a little bit. That's a home of 60 million people. And according to the latest data from the American census, around 1% of those people that live in the American Midwest identify as having some ancestral roots in Czechia or Bohemia and Moravia in the Czech lands. But these are Americans, mainly Americans that are proud of their heritage. So even though that we have such a huge diaspora, or at least people that we consider being our diaspora, when it comes to the number of citizens, the number is not that big. And we don't actually have the numbers because we don't need to, well, the people, if they move, if they change their residence, they don't have to announce it to the authorities. So we don't have any central database of the Czech citizens that are here in the Midwest. The only number I can rely on is basically the number that we maintain ourselves that comes out from the specialist of voters. And I might tell you for Chicago, it's about hundreds. So about the size of a small town from the Czech Republic, like let's say Pecněžko. But what is important, and I've already said it, we have registered a notable number of Czech citizens from that territory that don't speak fluently Czech and that turn to the consulate asking for, with their inquiries, for more information about how to register and how to vote. And I will finish by mentioning one more specificity of that region. And that's the voting dates, because I think in the beginning somebody spoke about the election time in the Czech Republic, but given the time difference between the United States and Europe, obviously we had to shift the voting times here in the United States. So when it comes to the territory that our consulate covers, we will start with the election one day earlier. So actually it's Thursday, October 2nd. We are opening our election room at the consulate at 2 p.m., which is important, especially for those who want to come in and vote in person. We will close at 9 p.m. that same day, and then we will continue following the same pattern on Friday, October the 3rd. And we will finish the election at 9 p.m., which is important not only for those who want to come in person, but also for those who will be sending their ballots by mail, because that's also the deadline for them. So until 9 p.m., 3rd October, we can collect all the votes. And after that, we will just close the election and start counting. Well, and I think that's pretty everything what I wanted to speak about. And in case there are more questions, more technical questions, I'll be happy to step in later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think seeing the President Peter Pavel in the background, I will recall the presidential elections, and I was in New York during that time. And it's also the matter of the pride of expatriates, to show up and to show their interest. I would like to ask, before we turn over to the audience, to Jiri, is there a potential to not only mobilize for elections, but also mobilize interest in the current Czech Republic? What is going on here?
Yeah, I think so. Actually, there is a possibility that, of course, even the president could make an appeal to Czechs living abroad to register, because that's the first time they can vote in this way. So that would probably have some impact on Czechs living abroad. I am sure there will be a lot of articles in the media in coming days on this issue. Plus, of course, politicians will be urging people to vote, especially politicians from the ruling coalition, which probably could benefit from the vote abroad more than the opposition parties. So yes, I think so. But are there any numbers that sort of aggregate numbers already about the number of people who have been registered?
Thank you very much. So I turn to medicine. I will only mention that you can follow the news from the Czech Republic also on Czech Radio Prague International, which is the government-sponsored radio station which issues daily newsletters, and it will definitely cover also elections and what's going on in Czech Republic. I will ask medicine to turn over to questions, and I also realized that there is a comment from the head of the consul section of the Czech embassy in Washington, Dagmar Minaříková. So if you can read that too.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. One of the first questions I have is are there any logistical or administrative hurdles that prospective overseas voters should be aware of to ensure their ballots count?
Okay, Jiri,
I guess it's kind of a question for the group as a whole.
But maybe Jiri can start.
Yes. Maybe, I should stress out one important thing. Your envelope goes only between your home, or actually the address that you will indicate in the application, and the closest embassy or the general consulate. It means the envelope doesn't go actually like it is in Slovakia from United States to Prague and back. So actually this is a very, very important feature, a characteristic of the Czech mailing system that actually will help us as well, for example, to use the mailing vote in presidential elections, because between the first and the second row of the elections, there are only 2 weeks. And so we are trying to shorter the way between the voter and the receiving embassy. So this is one important thing. So what actually could make actually the hardship that could make difficult, that your vote could be actually applicable into the results, is that actually you would make a mistake in the steps during the casting your ballot. And all the instructions that, again, are not really difficult, they are very simple, you will find in the envelope, in the set that will be sent to you directly from embassy or from general consulate. Just follow the instructions, what is actually written in that, and if you follow the instructions, you can maximize your success to cast the valid ballot in elections. So I would really recommend to follow the instructions and to anticipate a little bit, your probably time of sending your envelope back to the embassy, to make sure that your envelope will reach embassy or the general consulate maximum on the day of elections, because this is only time when actually your ballot could be counted. Is it this message? Is it clear?
Yes, that is clear. Thank you very much. Another question is, what kind of accountability measures will be in place to ensure that all voting is legitimate? I know in the United States that is a question when we do a lot of our mail-in voting as well. So how is this going to be approached?
If it's again on me, actually, the question is that our process is quite, let's call it, decentralized. We give the power and the control power to our embassies or general consulates. They are the closest institutions to voters. from the region when they are. And actually, it means that already the application or your registration, it's controlled. So it means that primarily are controlled two conditions to participate in elections: that you are Czech citizen and that you are older than 18 years. There is nothing else. And you can prove your citizenship by different ways. You can, of course, prove your citizenship that you have the valid passport, but here I have to specify something. You don't have to send the copy of your passport. You just send your name, your personal data, and eventually, even if you don't have in this moment the valid Czech passport or the Czech ID, it doesn't mean that you are not qualified as a citizen. The citizenship is not lost if you have valid Czech passport or a Czech valid of the Czech ID. The citizenship is something stable. So you have to only provide your name and your personal data the way as it is, in your opinion, the name or the personal data that are how to say able to go through the control in the Czech Republic. And Czech embassy or the general consulate will find out if you are eligible Czech citizen with a Czech citizenship, so actually to fulfill the conditions to participate in elections. So let's say we had a long discussion with the Ministry of Interior, between Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the deputies in the Czech Parliament during the process of approving the law. And we have found out that we will try to find the best way how to offer the possibility to participate to the biggest number, the highest number of the Czech electors abroad. So we will try to help you maximum to fulfill all your conditions. But as I said, two conditions are necessary. You must be Czech citizen, and your citizenship must be able to verification in the Czech data system. And you have to be older than 18 years old.
I realize that Dagmar Minaříková is already answering some of your questions in the chat, which are much in detail. But if I may, Madison, I would like to ask Jiri to turn to politics a little bit. You know, how the upcoming elections can change transatlantic relations, or to better put it out, how much the foreign policy is in the center of attention with the going wars in Ukraine or Gaza, how much it matters.
Well, we know that the two opposition parties, which are basically populist movements, and according to various opinion polls, have a good chance of forming a majority government at this point. That is, if the elections were held now. They have a different view of some Czech foreign policy priorities. That means they are much more skeptical about the help for Ukraine that the current government is very much engaged in with. And then, of course, they, for example, one of the opposition movements that is Okamura's SPD, as we call it, the Freedom and Direct Democracy Party, is asking for a referendum on Czech membership in the European Union. They are very skeptical about Czech membership in NATO. From that is clear that although ANO is not an explicitly anti-Western movement, they have a different view of foreign policy, priorities of in foreign policy, and they would probably try to implement some of them if they formed the government. And how is this related to this new law about voting by mail? Well, as I said before, according to opinion polls, a large majority of people living abroad would vote for the current government parties. So they would probably, it means they probably wish the Czech, the orientation of Czech foreign policy and security policy to remain the same. It means pro-Atlantic, and they support the help for Ukraine, among other things. So from that point of view, of course, that this is an important vote, important election, and depending on the number of people who will vote from abroad, the results may be different from what we see in opinion polls, because of course Czech pollsters at this point survey only the domestic population. They don't include people living abroad, simply because they don't know how many of those people would in the end vote.
Thank you. Madison?
Awesome, thank you. We have time for one last question. Looking ahead, how could this precedent set by the Czech Republic inform or inspire other European countries to consider similar expansions to their election process?
Probably Jiri can start. Jiri, perhaps.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Looking ahead, how could this precedent set by the Czech Republic inform or inspire other European countries considering similar expansions to their elections? So I think like if this goes well, how could this expand maybe other European countries reforming some of their election processes or offering mail-in voting for other citizens that might live abroad?
Well, quite frankly, the Czech Republic is one of the last countries in Europe that doesn't have or didn't have this kind of vote by mail. There are some countries where the procedure is slightly different, like in France. But as far as I know, there is only one country in Europe that doesn't have this. Now, before it was two, until the Czech Republic adopted this law. So I don't think that the Czech Republic can inspire anyone, because on the contrary, it seems inspired by other European countries to finally adopt this law.
Yeah,
Maybe
absolutely.
Jiri Kratky wanted to add something, no? Jiri?
No, I totally agree with Jiri. It was exactly the same way. It was Czech Republic that was inspired, because if you consider, for example, our neighbors, Slovaks, they have now elections, this kind of election for 20 years, more than 20 years. Germans, they have this distance voting for 70 years. So I think that Czech Republic was really running against the time, to try to have the same instrument for its citizens. Because I would like to say and maybe underline something. We have not we didn't have the time to talk about modern mobility, and the mobility of young people. If something, it's a phenomenon that actually it's every year stronger and stronger. People, they don't stay living at the one place for the whole life as it was before. And this instrument was really needed if Czech Republic doesn't want to lose its citizens, because they wouldn't have the way how to participate in the Czech public process. It's if this law was not passed in the parliament last year, I think it must have been passed this year or in the next years, because this is something that we really need to maintain contact with our people living abroad. And Czech Republic, I think it's even it's a, how to say, mid-size population state within the Europe. We can't afford to lose our human potential and expert potential that we have in our people living abroad. And this is why we would like to have these people as closest as possible to stay in touch with Czech Republic. And participation through the elections is probably the most convincing way for both sides, for states and for citizens.
Awesome. Perfect. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for this session. I want to thank everybody for attending the webinar. This will be online, hopefully in the next couple of days, but be sure to check our website and our Facebook page for updates on the upcoming webinar that we will have this fall. Thank you, everybody, for your participation, and thank you to our guests and to everybody joining us from abroad.
And thank you, Madison, for leading the whole session.
Thank you. Appreciate it, everybody. Thanks for your attendance today.
We
Bye-bye.
appreciate it all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.